Hi everybody, it's Peculus here. And before I even start, I just wanted to thank everybody for all the kind words they said about the loss of my dear Shade. As you know, she passed away on the Sunday. I had to leave on the Monday, and I was gone for 10 days. I've never been gone from the farm for 10 days in 38 years. And so everybody loved Shade, and everybody was here and kind of grieved her during that 10 days that I was away. And then when I came back, it was a little bit surreal, I got to be honest, not to see her in her stall or waiting for me in the paddock. It was a little harder than I thought it was going to be, but it's all good now, and we all have to move on, and she was 25. So anyway, but thank you again. I really appreciate everybody's kind thoughts. What I want to talk about this week, we found, first of all, we got the arena sorted out, so that's all good. It's the people that were here were fabulous, and they did all sorts of extra work, and we brought in extra sand. They managed to get my 1942 Ford tractor going and dragged it all really well. I'm surprised they could figure out how to run it, but that was great. And so that part is super. And then last Sunday we had our saddler come in, and what he does, he's very knowledgeable and so reasonable, and he comes in once a year, and he goes through all of my school horses, and he makes sure all of their tack is fitting correctly. You know, it's a funny thing. I remember when I was growing up, if somebody rode other horses and actually owned their own saddle, I would think, wow, that's like pretty amazing. But there was always that part of me that went, that's pretty weird. Like the horses that I know, they're all so different. Like it's amazing that you can have this miraculous saddle that fits everybody. Well, you know, spoiler alert, you can't. And in 1985, when I started my business, we had a German fellow come over, I think about the first or second year, maybe 86 it was, came over from Germany, and he was a master saddler. His name is down below because I always pronounce it really badly. So he's still in Canada, and he's very good at what he does. And at any rate, in 86 when he came over, that was the first time I'd ever heard someone say that, you know, the saddle has to fit the horse. I mean, it just makes sense to me, but it was so good to have it confirmed by someone who really knew something, you know. And his comparison was, he said, you would no more ask somebody to walk 10 miles in shoes that didn't fit, but we ask that of the horses when we use saddles that don't fit. So that was that's sort of been our goal around here, is to always try to make sure that our school horses are as comfortable as possible, because they have a very important job, and we want to make sure that they're comfy. First of all, this is our pile of saddles that we're getting rid of. So Joe went through all of these for us, and we ended up looking at them all and saying, you know, what ones are no good for any horse to ever have on, in which case we're going to cut the billet straps off and give them to people in case people want them for, you know, some kind of a decoration or something like that. And then the ones that are any good that you could humanely put on a horse but just don't fit our horses right now and probably never will, we're going to get rid of those too. But if you look at the one saddle, that gullet is so narrow, and that is the problem with the old-fashioned saddles. The newer ones now have a wider gullet, and that's what the horse really needs. Anyway, I'm no master saddler, nor am I an expert on saddle fitting, but I'm just going to go over a few things that we want to look at when we're fitting a saddle. If you look at Holly's back, now this is not from Saddles for Holly. This is actually when she was being driven. But when you see these kind of marks on your horse, that means something is not fitting correctly. So in a riding horse, you're usually going to see it up here at the base of the where the mane stops, right at the withers here. You'll sometimes see a white patch in here. With her, as I say, it was because it was a harness, but it's the same idea, right? That you get that kind of scarring almost on the hair, like the hair turns white, and that's how you know the saddle's not fitting. You want to make sure that there's lots of room here, okay? That you should be able to at least get at least 3 fingers in there, okay? Into that area. And if I had a flashlight right now, I could shine it down there. I want to make sure that I see the light coming out the other end, right? The other thing is we want the balance point of the saddle, and I'm not real happy with this, right? The balance point of the saddle should be right in the middle. Do you see that piece of chalk? Okay, so really this saddle needs to come up just a little bit in order to get that chalk to move just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But right now the balance point is a little bit too far back. The other thing, I tried to make chalk marks on the horse. You can sort of see it there. The hair changes direction here and here. So if you draw a line right down that, you don't want that saddle to be past that line when you're riding your horse. And we want to make sure that the saddle fits evenly, like through from where it's not blocking her shoulders, and that there's not gaps underneath here, right? I miss Linda. She used to film this stuff for me. It was a lot easier if somebody was filming. So you want to feel like the weight's evenly displaced all along where it's touching the horse's back. And if you compare the gullet of this saddle, how much more room there is down here than there was on that saddle I showed you in the lounge that we're throwing away, you can see the difference. Because again, those narrow saddles, they're putting so much pressure right along here on your horse's back. You want to, there's a lot of nerves and things there, right? So you want to move that pressure over a little bit, which is why the wider gullet is so much better for the horses. Anyway, Holly's losing her patience with me, I think, because she was so muddy I had to take a long time just trying to get her cleaned off here. So I think she'd like to go back and finish her supper. So that's it for this week. Again, if you can find a saddler in your area that can really help you with that, it helps to study your horse's anatomy and then think about where that saddle's actually sitting, imagining that you could actually see the horse's skeleton, nerves, muscles, things like that. It does help. The longer you do it, kind of the more you can sort of see. You can watch, for sure, when you watch a rider sit in a saddle that doesn't fit correctly, you can almost tell straight away, hello, Holly. Anyway, so that's it. I better put her back for a supper. Thank you again very much, and it's good to be back, and I will see you next week. Remember to thank your horse. Talk to you soon.